The time by Caracris is 6 p.m. and this is CBX Business News. The business news headlines are brought to you by QMax Wealth Management, making more possible. Investment rules loosen, food risks rise, and the IMF flags market vulnerabilities. Good evening and welcome to CBX Business News for Wednesday, April 15, 2026. I am Rashel Moncrieffe. Thanks for joining us. Coming up, the Jamaican government cuts the fast Jamaica investment threshold by 90%, unlocking more projects and investment opportunities. Also ahead, CARICOM says escalating Middle East conflict is pushing food security risks higher across the region as supply chains come under pressure. And later, the International Monetary Fund warns that global markets face heightened risk even as economies show signs of resilience. Stay with us as we unpack these stories and more right after the break. The local news is brought to you by Derrimon Trading, better from the start. The Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments. Welcome back to CBX Business News. We begin with a major policy shift that could unlock billions in investment and fast-track Jamaica's economic recovery. The government of Jamaica is significantly lowering the barrier for investment under its Facilitated Acceleration of Strategic Transformation Fast Jamaica program in a move aimed at accelerating economic recovery. Speaking in Parliament on Tuesday, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness announced that the minimum investment threshold has been cut from $150 million to $15 million, a 90% reduction designed to bring more investors into the pipeline.
I wish to make an important announcement to the House today. Having reflected carefully on the investment landscape and the scale of private capital we will need to crowd in, we have decided to lower the fast Jamaica investment threshold from US $150 million, which we had announced in Parliament in my budget presentation, to US $15 million. This is a deliberate decision to widen the door of resurgence.
Holness says the change is expected to open the door to a broader pool of investors.
At US $15 million, a broader universe of strategic investors, local, regional, diaspora, and international investors can qualify for the fast pathway. Imagine 100 projects at that threshold. That's $1.5 billion of private investment mobilized at speed, creating jobs, building capacity, and driving economic expansion across every region of the island.
That was Jamaica's Prime Minister, Dr. Andrew Holness. Jamaica is moving to mobilize diaspora capital as a critical pillar of post-hurricane recovery, with the upcoming 11th biennial Diaspora Conference positioning investment and deal-making at the center of national rebuilding efforts. The conference, scheduled for June 14 to 18 in Montego Bay, comes at a pivotal moment as Jamaica accelerates reconstruction following Hurricane Melissa and seeks to deepen partnerships with overseas Jamaicans. At the conference launch earlier today, State Minister in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Orlando Tarrelong, says the event will focus heavily on trade, investment, and entrepreneurship.
This year's conference assumes particular significance as it provides a platform to deliberate upon Jamaica's developmental course in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. The substantive program is meticulously curated to facilitate rich and meaningful exchanges on investing in Jamaica, which has been described as the Miami Herald as the mini superpower of the Caribbean, and which I like to describe as destination trade and investment. It provides an opportunity for discussions along key issues such as real estate, business, entrepreneurship generally.
That was State Minister in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Orlando Tarrelong. And the private sector is already firmly embedded in this push. Chairman's remarks at the launch were delivered by the interim managing director of the Jamaica National Group, Keith Levy, alongside legacy partner contributions from Courtney Campbell, Chief Executive Officer of BM Group, and Frank James, Chief Executive Officer of Grace Kennedy Group, signaling strong corporate alignment with the conference's investment agenda. The Office of Utilities Regulation, OUR, is resetting Jamaica's internet infrastructure strategy, formally relaunching the Jamaica Internet Exchange Point, JAIXP, as part of a broader push to build a faster, more secure, and more resilient digital ecosystem. The platform, first established in 2014, allows internet service providers and networks to exchange traffic locally, reducing reliance on international routing and improving speed and efficiency. Speaking on day 2 of the 31st Caribbean Network Operators Group CaribNOG Forum earlier today, OUR Deputy Director General Ivona Channa says the relaunch follows a series of major technical upgrades, including a new high-capacity switch, enhanced cybersecurity systems, and improved monitoring tools.
So the relaunch of JIXP today is not merely to acknowledge a technical milestone. Rather, we're looking at it as a reset and a recommitment. So it's a reset in how stakeholders engage, connect, and collaborate at the IXP. And it's a recommitment to keep Jamaican traffic local where possible and to build a more secure, stable, and resilient internet ecosystem for Jamaica.
The OUR is now calling on private sector players, public institutions, and digital service providers to connect to the exchange.
As we mark this relaunch, I issue a call to action to policymakers and regulators, yes, hands up, align policies and frameworks to foster local content ecosystems and trusted digital infrastructure. To large internet service providers, embrace the multi-stakeholder model and support a neutral and non-discriminatory governance framework. To smaller IXPs, connect and peer. Help build traffic volumes at the IXP that demonstrate value and resilience. To content and hosting provider, the private sector, cloud platforms, financial institutions, etc., host locally, peer and cache content at the IXP, and deliver faster, more reliable digital services while unlocking new users.
That was OUR Deputy Director General Ivona Channa. In other news, Jamaica Broilers Group has entered an agreement to sell the assets of its best-dressed chicken processing plant in South Carolina, following a strategic review of its U.S. operations. The company says the move comes amid sustained operational challenges and changing market conditions that have weighed on performance in the broiler segment. The South Carolina facility was acquired in September 2019 from Gentry's Poultry Company and operated through its subsidiary, the Best Dressed Chicken Incorporated. The divestment marks a strategic repositioning of the group's U.S. portfolio as management moves to address operational pressures within the market. The company has not disclosed the value of the transaction or its expected financial impact, but says it will update the market as the process advances. And in financial news, One-on-One Educational Services is reporting a sharp profit surge as improved margins and tighter cost control drive a strong earnings rebound. For the second quarter ended February 2026, net profit climbed 159% to 18.6 million Jamaican dollars, up from $7.2 million a year earlier. That growth came even as revenue increased by 4.8% to $81.8 million, pointing to a more efficient and scalable business model. Gross profit rose 17.1% during the quarter, while direct costs fell by more than 25%, fueling a significant expansion in margins as the company scaled its digital platform offerings. For the 6-month period, net profit jumped 123.8% to $41.2 million, reinforcing the company's improving financial position. Management says the performance reflects a shift towards higher margin platform-based services. We move to the latest updates from the JSE equities. In Wednesday's trading session, the JSE market activity resulted in the trading of 102 stocks, of which 29 advanced, 60 declined, and 13 traded firm. Leading the winners are Margaritaville Turks, Lumber Depot, Cygnus Credit Investments 8% preference shares due 2025 Class D, and Proven Group. While leading the losers are G West Corporation Ordinary Shares, Cargo Handlers, AMG Packaging and Paper Company, and Jamaican Teas. The main index declined by 3,012.61 points to close at 334,833.27 points. The junior market index declined by 93.94 points to close at 3,171.99 points. It's time for the Market Education feature, brought to you by CARICRIS, Regional Ratings, Global Standards. In today's Market Education feature, we're talking about salary. A salary is a fixed amount of money paid by an employer to an employee in exchange for work performed in a specific role. It is usually paid at regular intervals, most commonly monthly, but sometimes weekly or bi-weekly. The salary amount and payment schedule are typically outlined in a job offer and may change over time due to promotions or adjustments in responsibilities. In addition to salary, employees may receive benefits such as bonuses, health insurance, and paid leave. Earnings often vary based on factors like job role, location, and experience. That was the Market Education feature, brought to you by CARICRIS, Regional Ratings, Global Standards. And that's it for the local news segment. Please stay with us. The regional news is up next. The local news is brought to you by Derrimon Trading, better from the start. The Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, Tease the Senses, and Pulse Investments.
Are you a business owner ready to grow your business through content? Or are you a content creator who is ready to transform your platform for real profit? Then you need to be at Grow Your Wealth 2026, hosted by Learn, Grow, Invest. On April 18th, we're bringing together entrepreneurs, creators, and industry experts for a powerful one-day experience under the theme Grow Your Business Through Content Creation. If you're serious about growth in 2026, this is your room.
Welcome back. And now for the regional business news. Caribbean farmers and consumers are facing heightened risk as global shipping disruptions linked to the Middle East conflict begin to drive up food and input costs. At a high-level food security dialogue hosted by the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, CARICOM Assistant Secretary General Wendell Samuel warned that the crisis is exposing deep structural weaknesses in the region's economies. He says higher freight rates, rising insurance costs, and shipping disruptions are already impacting small island states, particularly those dependent on just-in-time imports or with limited storage capacity. Samuel added that the region remains highly exposed to global shocks through energy markets, food systems, and supply chains, with inflation, food affordability, and fiscal stability now under increasing pressure. The warning underscores a broader economic threat as rising import and production costs begin to squeeze farm output and push consumer prices higher across the Caribbean. Anguilla's government is reporting a stronger than expected start to 2026, with revenue significantly outpacing projections and easing pressure on public finances. Speaking at a press conference on Monday, Premier Cora Richardson Hodge says government revenue reached $120 million for January and February, well above the projected $99 million, reducing the need to draw on reserves.
For January and February of 2026, the government of Anguilla would have recorded revenue in the amount of $120 million. It was projected at $99 million, so we've exceeded projections. The .ai is 30% of January and February revenue, and if sustained, the .ai domain name could surpass $300 million this year. As a result, there is no need to dip into the reserves. Many persons would recall that in our 2026 budget, we would have estimated a $73 million deficit. But as a result of the strong revenue performance, there is no need to dip into the reserves for the year 2026 to the same extent, if at all. And current reserves stand at $298 million.
The improved fiscal position is being driven in part by strong performance from Anguilla's digital domain sector, which could generate more than $300 million this year if current trends hold. Despite the momentum, the government says it is balancing growth with relief measures as global pressures continue to push up fuel and electricity costs.
We have seen an increase in the fuel surcharge to 88 cents based on an announcement that was released. Prior to that release, the government of Anguilla will have announced that the government is absorbing any difference in cost between the 42 cents per kilowatt hour for homes and businesses and 65 cents for the accommodation sector, hotel, villas, guest houses, for a period of 2 months. And so what that means is that whether or not the price increases beyond the 88 cents and higher, the government will absorb that cost so that for homes and businesses, the amount remains at 42 cents, and for the accommodation sector, 65 cents per kilowatt hour.
That was Anguilla's Premier Cora Richardson Hodge. In other news, Trinidad and Tobago NGL Limited, TTNGL, has declared a $1 dividend per share, ending a near 4-year wait for returns by thousands of investors. The special interim payout is expected to inject approximately $154.8 million into the economy, benefiting more than 11,000 shareholders. The dividend, the first since 2022, follows a major restructuring of the company's capital, including a $2.2 billion reduction in stated capital to facilitate the distribution. Company directors say the move is aimed at restoring investor confidence after years of frustration over the lack of returns. The payout is expected in May of this year, with shareholders given the option to receive funds in local or U.S. currency, pending regulatory approval. It's now time for news from the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 18 securities, of which 9 advanced, 5 declined, and 4 traded firm. Today's winners are A.S. Bryden & Sons Holdings, Grace Kennedy, National Enterprises, and Trinidad and Tobago NGL, while leading the losers are JMMB Group, Trinidad Cement, LJ Williams B, and Unilever Caribbean. Trading activity resulted in the following movements. The All TNT Index advanced by 16.89 points to close at 1,359.08. The Composite Index also advanced, but by 9.20 points to close at 943.24. At the same time, the Cross-Listed Index gained by 0.13 points to close at 69.75, while the SME Index remained at 83.07. And we take a short break, but please do stay with us. The international news segment is up next.
This project marks the celebration of our 30th Hall of Fame and aims to highlight the achievements, challenges, and invaluable lessons of those who have shaped and are shaping the future of our economy. Our aim is to celebrate the voices and stories of 30 remarkable leaders in Jamaica's private sector. Join us as we explore these narratives of resilience, leadership, and vision.
Welcome back. In international news, despite escalating conflict in the Middle East, global financial markets remain resilient. But the International Monetary Fund, IMF, warns that stability may not hold under sustained pressure. Speaking at a press briefing on Tuesday, Financial Counselor Tobias Adrian says central banks have played a critical role in supporting markets through liquidity facilities and central clearing mechanisms.
Central banks have been supporting markets in a number of countries through liquidity facilities. And of course, there have also been structural improvements in markets, for example, through central clearing. We also see the benefits of resilient banks, which remain well capitalized and liquid. So the banking system is not a worry at this point at this particular juncture.
However, Adrian cautioned that underlying vulnerabilities remain, including elevated public and private debt levels and growing refinancing risks in a high interest rate environment.
Now, having said all that, the resilience is not assured in all states of the world. And let me go into some of the vulnerabilities. Elevated public debt and private debt, rollover risk, as well as the bank sovereign nexus continue to make bond markets fragile, at least in some countries. And we particularly focus on the presence of leveraged investors in these markets. As governments have issued more debt, a lot of non-banks have stepped in, and we look in great detail in this Global Financial Stability Report at those issues.
That was IMF Financial Counselor and Director of the Monetary and Capital Markets Department, Tobias Adrian. Meanwhile, the IMF is also revising its outlook for major economies impacted by the current commodity shock. The Global Monetary Agency has raised its 2026 growth forecast for Russia to 1.1%, up from a 0.8% estimate in January, reflecting stronger oil and commodity prices linked to the Middle East crisis. The revised outlook is slightly above the roughly 1% growth recorded in 2025, following a sharp slowdown from the 4.9% expansion seen in 2024. The slowdown has been driven by tight monetary policy from the Central Bank of Russia, alongside the continued impact of Western sanctions. Despite the upgrade, the IMF's projection remains below the 1.3% estimate from Russia's Economic Development Ministry, which has signaled that its forecast may be revised downward. And in Asia, markets are showing mixed signals as geopolitical uncertainty continues to influence investor sentiment. China's Shanghai Composite Index edged up 0.05% to close at 4,027, holding at a one-month high. In contrast, the Shenzhen Component Index fell 0.97% to 14,498, retreating as optimism around renewed U.S.-Iran talks began to fade. U.S. President Donald Trump indicated that negotiations could resume within days, but uncertainty continues to weigh on sentiment. Meanwhile, China's economy is expected to grow 4.8% year-on-year in the first quarter, up from 4.5% in the previous quarter. The impact of the Middle East conflict on China has remained relatively contained, supported by long-term efforts to strengthen energy security and reduce external vulnerabilities. And that's it for the international segment of the newscast. The news recap is coming up on the other side of the break. And now to recap our top stories. In the local news, fast Jamaica threshold slashed by 90% to unlock investment. Regionally, CARICOM says Middle East conflict driving region's food risks higher. And internationally, IMF warns global markets face risks despite ongoing resilience. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Rashel Moncrieffe. Thanks for watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.
From seed to sale, Jamaica's future grows through innovation. Introducing Export Jamaica, a global market intelligence and compliance gateway that connects your effort with global opportunities and makes international trade easier, safer, and more convenient for Jamaican businesses. Powered by the Jamaica Trade Board Limited, Export Jamaica is designed to position your products competitively and guide you through international trade. Find high-demand international markets. Gain access to trade analytics that guide your business decisions. Identify and engage with potential buyers. Know your costs up front. Trade confidently. and keep your exports safe and secure. Through Export Jamaica, you can discover all there is to know about exporting and grow your business sustainably.
From the processing of your goods, to packaging and shipping, to seeing your products reach international shelves and enjoyed by customers abroad, Export Jamaica provides the market intelligence and insights behind each step, helping you identify demand, understand export pathways, and unlock financial growth.
Say hello to a prosperous future. Visit tradeboard.gov.jm/Export Jamaica to sign up today. Expanding Jamaica's reach, empowering our people.